Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone.
In a village, several young people covered in mud await the moment for everyone to attempt to climb a tall tree, on top of which a flag is placed. They soon begin to climb, and a fierce competition starts to see who will reach the top first.
They knock each other down and don't allow anyone to pass in front of them. After many falls and attempts, one of them manages to grab the flag. Now the challenge is for him to descend and fend off the other youths who want to take it from him. He successfully knocks one of them down and throws himself to the ground, thus winning the competition and becoming the year's victor. His name is Tien, and his victory brings joy to everyone. Outside the temple, a young man named Don tries to buy a relic of Buddha from an elderly man, but the man refuses to sell, even with Don's insistence. Later that night, Tien is seen training in his Muay Thai fighting style. He exhibits great skill, performing various moves and strikes. His master arrives and reminds him that he taught him these skills not for misuse. After his master leaves, Tien's uncle, Mao, tells him about a past incident when his master unintentionally killed someone with his skills. This incident weighed heavily on him, and Mao advises Tien to use his abilities wisely. Later that night, Mao witnesses thieves stealing from a Buddha statue, but he is knocked out before he can alert others. In the morning, the village discovers the theft, and it's revealed that the thieves took the head of the Ong Bak statue. Mao accuses Don and his accomplices of the theft. The villagers are saddened and concerned, but they need to retrieve the statue's head for an upcoming ceremony. The master urges them to remain calm and promises to find a solution. Seeing the situation, Tien offers to go after the thieves. He receives guidance from his master and a powerful herb amulet and sets off. As Tien leaves the village, people give him addresses, letters, money, and items to aid him on his dangerous journey. In the bustling city of Bangkok, Tien encounters a man named Humli and a woman named Mui in an alley. Humli borrows money from Mui, claiming he couldn't get the money from a race. Tien arrives just in time and recognizes Humli from their village. However, Humli pretends not to know Tien. After Mui leaves, Tien gives a letter to Humli, saying it's from his father. Humli rejects it and pushes Tien away. Later, Tien helps Humli retrieve the letter from his home. Tien tells him about the situation in the village and that Don had caused it, but Humli grabs his bag and tells him to take a shower. While he is showering, he hears Humli say that he is going to meet someone at the city's fighting arena. Realizing that he has been tricked, he comes out and sees that Humli has stolen from him and decides to follow him. Upon arriving there, Humli makes a bet with all of Tien's money, and soon it's revealed that Don is there and takes Ong Bak to his boss named Kanchum, who asks where the amulet he wanted is, not just a piece of stone, and then orders him to get out of his sight. Meanwhile, in the arena, fighters battle where Kanchum and another man bet on the winner. On the streets, Tien sees Humli's motorcycle and enters the place, but doesn't notice Don leaving. In the arena, Humli's fighter loses to the undefeated champion named Harbor. Tien finds the cheater and asks where the village money is, but he says he bet it all and points to where it is. Just as the announcer asks who will face the undefeated champion, Tien, looking at the ticket booth where his money is, enters the arena, making everyone think he wants to fight. At that moment, Mu arrives and is surprised to see Tien inside the arena, where Humli says he's going to be slaughtered. The bosses then place their bets, and just as the fight is about to start, Tien says he just wants his money and doesn't want to fight. However, the announcer says that will come later and orders the fight to begin, which ends immediately, as Tien defeats the big man with a fatal knee strike, leaving everyone stunned by what happened. When it's time to collect the money, he refuses, saying he only wants the money his friends and family gave him. This leaves Humli anxious with Tien's choice, not knowing how much he had won, and follows him outside, saying he could fight and earn a lot of money, but Tien tells him he doesn't fight for money. Greedy, Humli says he will help him if he lends him money again, promising to take him wherever he wants after he wins his bets, but Tien leaves, disappointed with him. While Tien prays, the letter that Tien had delivered reaches Humli, and in it, he reads his father saying that the money he so wanted he couldn't give him, as the village was suffering a drought, and to make matters worse, Ong Bak was stolen. And he asks for help in finding Tien to thus end the people's bad luck. Humli, however, remains uninterested, crumples the letter and then throws it away. While Tien looks for the address, Humli goes to his cheating partner,
who knows him for helping him win by entering the game to pass cards. With his illusion skills, he only transfers the good cards, thus making his partner win. However, Humley now works with Mui, who arrives, plays, and starting to win, wins all the bets in a row. This raises the suspicion of the chief player, who gets agitated and makes Humley investigate her to see if she doesn't have hidden cards. However, maneuvering their view, he manages to get her out without being discovered and tells her to go away. Outside, they split the profit when a thug appears to collect the debt Humley had with him. And giving the thug everything he got, it wasn't enough and they start to beat Humley for a few moments. Tien arrives and seeing, wouldn't care, but when they start to beat Mui, Tien steps in to defend them. The thug doesn't like being pushed and immediately goes after Tien with the others, but being very skilled he dodges and quickly knocks them down. After that, leaving there, Humley asks Tien to fight again, so he can recover the money he owes. But he doesn't want to hear about it, so Humley starts to speak against the village and against Tien's belief, which makes him angry and he punches him. Humley was going to fight with him, but is interrupted by Mui, who says they have bigger problems. And looking at the end of the corner, they see the thugs now in large numbers, together with the man they cheated in the game. Afraid, Humley says to run, so they run. Humley lags behind while Tien runs and puts all his years of training into practice. He jumps over the stalls and among the people in the streets and through a wheel of barbed wire. Humley tries to imitate Tien's movements, but always ends up embarrassing himself and falling behind. At one point, Tien comes across some men in front of him and using his skills, he dodges and at the same time attacks them, knocking them out with his kicks. Continuing the escape and jumping over obstacles, he tries to escape by jumping a gate, but is surrounded and having no choice, starts to jump over their shoulders. But ahead, he reunites with Humley and the two now run together, but upon encountering a high wall, Tien easily climbs it, but Humley can't and keeps asking Tien for help, who in the end ends up helping him because he said he would take him to Don's house, the thief of Ongbak. After the escape, the three arrive at the fighting arena where Humley says Don would be. However, the owner of the place is alerted that Tien was around. Then he immediately orders them to make him fight with the fighter who was in the arena, known as Big Bear, who, seeing him and knowing what he had done to the last undefeated fighter, calls him to fight. But Tien ignores him and only continues to look for Don. Seeing that it wasn't working to insult Thai martial arts, the wretched appeals to Tien's sense of justice, or he attacks a waitress, but Tien remains focused on what he was doing there. Then a young man, listening and seeing what the madman was doing to the girl, enters the arena and starts to fight. However, his blows have no effect and he gets beaten a lot. Watching that, Tien does nothing, but Humley and Mui ask him to help the young man or he will die. Tien still didn't want to intervene in the fight, then the waitress who knew the young man, tries to help him but is attacked. It is at that moment then that Tien can't take it anymore and goes to the center of the arena determined to fight to end that animal once and for all. As he prepares, he is insulted by Big Bear who already attacks him, but Tien quickly makes him fall to the ground with the first blow. However, because the guy is very big, he quickly gets up. Tien again puts him on the ground using an elbow and then a knee straight to the head. The big man is knocked down a third time with a precise elbow, and irritated by being beaten, he uses one of his supporters to grab Tien, and then beats and kicks him. But he recovers quickly and inevitably hits the bear with a double blow using his elbows to the head, thus finishing him. However, trying to leave the arena, people block him, and he is soon surprised by another fighter who kicks him back into the arena. But not wanting to fight anymore, he tries to leave again, but is stopped by an armed man. Then forced to fight, we see that his opponent likes to use his legs. But being excellent in foot fighting as well, Tien easily defends himself and knocks down his opponent several times, showing he knows how to use his body as both a weapon and shield. Going on the offensive, Tien realizes his opponent is also good at dodging. So, he combines attacks with his arms and legs, landing a solid kick to the fighter's face. Tien notices the fighter wants space, but he doesn't allow it and corners him, attacking again with some beautiful strikes and soon wins. However, the unsatisfied loser tries to attack Tien from behind, who, noticing, finishes him off with a final knee to his chest.
Without any rest, another fighter, known as the feared Mad Dog, starts entering the arena, making the announcer very afraid. He then pretends to greet Tien to attack him with a bottle, which soon however gets a deserved retaliation. Realizing it would be a dirty fight, Tien only defends, while the madman attacks him with chairs and tables from the place. A fierce fight ensues and Tien, being hit by various objects, fortunately is not seriously injured. He attacks the madman, even being attacked with plates and glass bottles, where each attack is retaliated by Tien with a blow. At one point, the madman manages to worry Tien when he grabs an electrical wire and threatens him with electricity. Taking advantage of the lights being out, Tien hides and the madman, thinking he has won, climbs on a table and exults. However, he is soon surprised by Tien with an incredible knee strike. Taking advantage of an opening, Mad Dog grabs Mui and takes her hostage. He climbs with her to the second floor, where they fight again, but the madman still continues to be defeated. Reaching the boss's room, the fighter receives a knife with which he immediately attacks, but Tien manages to defeat him by throwing him through the glass window, thus ending that insane fight. All the people watching the fight congratulate Tien for being a great fighter and throw many coins to him. Don, arriving and seeing Tien, immediately runs back and gets into a car to escape. Then, due to the police chasing everyone from the fight, the three also flee. Arriving home, Humley, known to everyone as Jorge, is charged for his late rent, so Tien helps him by giving a ring as collateral, and then the two go inside. At some point in the night, Humley goes to see the letter that his father had sent to him, where he asks him to return to the village with Tien and not to worry about the money, just that he returns. The next day, the two decide to go to Don's house. Using a woman to lure and open the door, Tien enters the room and chases him, but he manages to leave the building and flees in a vehicle. Tien and Humley chase after him, causing chaos in the streets where several of the thugs flip over. In the middle of the chase, Don manages to get behind Tien and Humley's vehicle, hitting the rear and getting underneath them, but Tien gets out and reaches Don, who, scared, jumps and rolls out onto the streets. His men soon arrive and give him a new transport, then seeing that there were many, Tien and Humley split up and flee. On a bridge block due to still being under construction, Humley breaks the blockade and further ahead realizes the road ends, braking just in time, where the others realize too late and jump from their motorcycles to not fall and die. When one of them pushes Humley, but realizing he's going to fall, he jumps just in time and then kicks the man, taking his transport and getting out of there. Tien enters a construction site and manages to pass under steel pipes, but the others can't, and all crashing, cause an explosion. At another point in the city, he finds Don and throws himself against him before he can escape. Tien, on top of Don's vehicle, tries to hold on, and out of control, Don heads towards the sea and falls into it along with Tien. Underwater, he sees something that makes him let Don escape. When we see it, several stone statues of the god of his religion among other relics that were there. The night soon arrives and the authorities had been notified about those artifacts, where we realize they had been stolen and hidden there by Don's boss, who now blames him for the loss, and all because of a stone head he stole from a village. Later, Humley, talking on a corner with Mui, is surprised by Kamchuan's men and taken away. And already in his presence, Humley says he knows nothing, that it was Tien's business against Don. But Kamchuan, having in his hands what they were looking for and desiring something else, offers them a deal. Back at home, Humley tells Tien that he needs to fight, but with his hands tied so they can get back the head of Ongbak and also free Mui. Seeing no other choice, Tien ends up accepting the deal. Already in the fighting arena, the betters are arriving and Tien prepares to fight. We also see another man, Kamchuan's henchman, who is going to fight, but using some kind of anabolic steroid. The time for the fight arrives, and Tien takes the forefront of the combat, striking his opponent named El Tigre. Delivering some kicks to his opponent's chest and legs, Tien causes no damage to him and, being provoked, continues the attack. However, it's not effective, and he strikes El Tigre in the neck, almost knocking him down. We can see that El Tigre is highly agitated and not feeling any pain, but we know this is due to what he injected into his body. El Tigre withstands Tien's attacks and soon counterattacks, quickly leaving Tien almost unconscious.
The fight judges try to intervene, but are pushed aside by the uncontrollable El Tigre, who ends up hitting one of them in the head with a kick. Tien tries to fight back, but is unable to and gets knocked out. Humley throws in the towel, signaling that the fight is won, and enters the arena to help his friend. But El Tigre, wanting to kill Tien, goes after them. Seeing this, Tien pushes Humley away and takes the full force of the kick, which throws him out of the ring. Kamchuan authorizes El Tigre to continue the fight even though Tien has already lost, and jumps on him, thus ending the massacre. Afterwards, they are taken to Kamchuan, who hands them a box they think contains what they want, but when Tien opens it, they are surprised to find nothing inside. Kamchuan then says they made him lose a lot of money and now they would have nothing, then orders his men to kill them all. When he leaves, we see the three in a dangerous situation, but before the worst happens, Tien reacts and knocks one of them down. The other one holding Humley tries to shoot, but is stopped by him, who soon needs to be rescued by Tien, who quickly helps him and lands a solid punch on the thug. Don, outside, waits for his men to finish the job, thinking they are beating up the three, but is surprised when one of them is thrown against the door.
Don then enters and, not seeing anyone, goes to look for them.
Tien is spotted and runs to hide behind some fuel drums. The man shoots a few times, causing some explosions. Going to check if he had killed him, he soon realizes he hasn't, as he is surprised by Tien, whose legs are on fire, and quickly finishes him off, then extinguishes the flames with water. Don on the motorcycle shoots at Tien, but is surprised by Humley, who jumps from a window onto him, attempting to knock him out, but is thrown far by Don, who gets back on the motorcycle and goes after Tien. Seeing him coming, Tien climbs onto a car, gains momentum, and lands a tremendous knee strike that even breaks the helmet.
Tien asks where Ong Bak is, and Don says it's in a cave behind the mountain.
Then he takes the motorcycle wanting to go alone, but his new friends stop him, where Humley apologizes and says he wants to help him.
Together, the two head to try to recover what they desire.
Arriving there, they realize that guards are at the entrance, so they think of something, and in a moment of distraction, Tien surprises and knocks them all out. Then they enter and more men appear armed with knives.
Tien arms himself with a wooden stick and fights them off incredibly, with great skill and strength. After defeating almost all of them using only a wooden stick, two of them arrive and nearly hit him, but he uses the walls to jump over them and thus finishes one, causing the other to run away in fear. Going deeper into the cave, Tien realizes that Kamchuan and his men were starting to remove the head of a huge monument of his god. Kamchuan sees him and asks what he would do for something much bigger than what he was looking for, referring to the head of Ong Bak. Several men arrive and fight him, but Tien defeats them with his fighting style, delivering brutal and efficient blows, not giving them a chance to win. Noticing that Humley was being killed, Tien manages to help him out of that situation, but another man arrives from behind him with a saw and ferociously attacks him, wounding his arm. Thrown to the ground, Tien takes several hits, but Humley decides to help and knocks down the man who was hurting Tien. However, he gets beaten up in the same way, ending up with his arm broken.
Seeing his friend in trouble, Tien stands up again and attacks the man, landing some precise blows and breaking his leg. Then he quickly goes to help his friend, who tells him to go get Ong Bak. Preparing for the next fights, he chews the herb his master gave him in case it was necessary. He then goes to Kamchuan, who is with his subordinate El Tigre, who is warned to be careful, as Tien's previous defeat had been staged. It was an agreement made between them, precisely for him to recover all the money lost in the previous bet. They start fighting, and we see that both are skilled in martial arts, but being better trained in aiming for his goal, Tien quickly defeats El Tigre, leaving him lying on the ground. Seeing that there were still men up there trying to bring down the giant Buddha head, he climbs up and fighting against them, defeats them. El Tigre, not wanting to lose, injects himself again with some kind of anabolic steroid. And when Tien goes after Kamchuan, El Tigre surprises him with a flying kick and then a series of merciless kicks, leaving him almost unconscious. He then grabs Tien and tries to crush his neck, causing Tien to start fainting. However, looking at the monument representing the god of his religion, Tien is reinvigorated and attacks with several strikes and a direct elbow to his head, seemingly finishing him off. Kamchuan, seeing no way out, shoots Tien, wounding him in the shoulder. Then Humli arrives and with a piece of wood knocks Kamchuan off his chair, subsequently retrieving Ong Bak. But LT Gray, who is still alive and highly uncontrollable, attacks Humli. When Tien once again saves his friend by knocking down his opponent, he then lands a brutal double knee strike on him, causing the two to fall from a great height. At this moment, Kamchuan, knowing he is lost, confronts Ong Bak and attempts to destroy it with hammer blows, but Humli stands in front and protects it while suffering a series of hits. After tense and painful moments, they are surprised by the monument detaching and starting to fall on them, where Humli manages to dodge, but Kamchuan doesn't and is killed instantly. In the rubble, Tien picks up Ong Bak and feels relieved. Soon he also finds Humli, who is trapped and very injured, but not caring much if he would die, he asks Tien to return to the village with Ong Bak. Mui then arrives and is worried about the situation of her friend, who tells her to continue studying and graduate. He also asks Tien to tell his father that he couldn't return home and be what his father wanted him to be. After saying these words, Humli unfortunately dies, leaving his friends very sad. The film ends showing a time later, back in the village, now with Ong Bak complete, the people celebrate and perform a ceremony in honor of Ong Bak where Tien is now the spokesperson of the people.